Hello and welcome everybody to today's live session brought to you by us at Dream Data. As usual, I'm Stefan. I'm super happy for you guys to be listening to my conversation today. It's a conversation I've been really looking forward to because I think Rex might be one of the people I've talked to that have spent the most on digital marketing ever. At least, yeah, I think you'll be a solid top five or something like that, Rex. So I'm really looking forward to diving into the conversation. I'll do like a short intro, Rex, and then you can tell it how you would tell other people. But I think if you look on your LinkedIn, you did almost 11 and a half years at HubSpot, which I think have been an incredible ride. And your last tenure there was the head of paid media at HubSpot. As I bet that's a pretty significant ad budget you have to run when you do stuff like that at HubSpot. And so now, since then, you've been starting your own advisory company and been forced to go back full time again at Cursor. So, yeah, really looking forward to the conversation, Rex. But if you were to introduce yourself to the people who don't know you, what would kind of be the pitch you'd do?
Yeah, no, it's a good start. But I'll go into a little more detail because it's been an interesting journey for sure. So I started my career. Actually, I had one job before HubSpot, but for all intents and purposes, I started my career at HubSpot, and I was the first full-time paid media marketer. I had a very small budget working on just one, essentially a little Chrome extension that eventually kind of got absorbed into the CRM. And you know, paid media started growing at the company. Kind of everyone with a credit card was spinning up an ad account. At one point, I think we had 75 ad accounts. This
Really?
is a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I went to leadership. I was like, guys, this is crazy. Like, we need one centralized ad account. We will need one leader. We need one team. They're like,
Yeah.
Rex, you're right. Go do it. So I started building out a small team. We started having a lot of success growing the company in a lot of different ways, launching paid media on more products, features in more regions, in more languages. By the time I left, I had a team of about 20 people working for me. We were spread out across affiliate, performance marketing, and brand paid media. So did a little bit of everything and was having a lot of success there. And built out the team, grew the program in a really big way. And on the side, I started doing a little bit of advising, and I was getting to advise these really incredible companies that were just like super smart in so many ways. And first of all, it was very fun getting to see a lot of different ad accounts, because when you're looking at the same ad account all day every day, you can kind of start to miss it. I guess this is probably the same for every profession, not just paid media. But now I was getting to see all these ad accounts, and that was really interesting. The other thing that was really interesting from this experience is I got to see a lot of different paid media agencies, and I became very unimpressed with what I was seeing in a lot of ways. I felt that these were some of the biggest, most sophisticated companies that I was working with. I mean, companies like Ramp and Vercel and Reddit, and not those specific companies, but a lot of the companies that were hiring certain agencies I wasn't impressed with. And eventually I had seen enough, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go start my own paid media agency. I think there's a gap in the market for a good one. And I went off and did that, and built out a whole big team, got all the processes in place, got recruited a ton of amazing clients. And that is still going, and that's still going great. But one of my clients, it was an advising client, uh,
Mm.
became Cursor. And Cursor was a very special company in a lot of ways. Very unique, growing very quickly, to the tune of I had never really seen anything like it in a lot of ways. And
You've seen
it,
HubSpot grow.
yeah, this was different. And they approached me about joining full time, and at first it wasn't really in the cards because we were just getting started with the agency, and for a number of reasons, I wasn't sure if everything was stable enough to run without me. But over time, as most successful agencies go, the founder kind of moves back from the day to day and does more like, sales and oversight. And it did become in the cards for me to go work at Cursor. And long story short, I got to know the guys more, got to know the company more, got to know the team more. and decided to make the switch. So right now, where I'm at, to kind of wrap it up, is the paid media agency is still going. I am above board, allowed to continue working on that in a more strategic oversight capacity. But now I am full time at Cursor as their head of performance marketing, and going to be building out that team. And that's kind of the story of where I've been.
Fantastic. There's already a lot of questions that's popping up into my mind now. But let's start with the if we just start with what was wrong with the agencies that you experienced across these different advisories, and
Some of
what are you trying to do different with your own agency?
Yeah, I felt some of them were just a little like old school and not keeping up. So these ad platforms, they're just evolving so quickly, especially like, the last 6 to 12 months, as with everything in the world. And I felt a lot of the strategies were just kind of old school. There were a lot of like really like micro audiences and tiny budgets and people not really setting up their conversion tracking. Um, and and I felt the people on the accounts just didn't know about like this new way of doing things where you like lean more into AI bidding and optimization and measurement and creative and doing all of this with checks, but making sure to at least test into it. And I'd go and look at like what these companies had tested like during like certain audits, and sometimes over the past year, like nothing had been tested at all. It's like
Mm.
this is 2026, guys. Like we gotta get moving here. Um, and I think a lot of it is oftentimes these agencies, they were just like spread super, super thin across too many clients. And then I also think like this is something that I realized later when I started interviewing a lot of people for my own agency, is that I don't think people were interviewing right at other agencies. So the way I do my interviews at my agencies, I pull up ad accounts and I'm like, okay, let's say I want to create a custom segment for a YouTube audience. Where do I go? Let's say I want to change a campaign level tracking template. Where do I go? Let's say I want to adjust my pixel. Where do I go? And the people that are in these ad platforms all day, every day, they don't even need to look at the screen. They just go top left, tools, shared library, audiences, hit the blue plus sign. And the people that really don't know paid media, they kind of struggle and they've never tried to build an audience before. It's like, you've been in paid media for 5 years, you've never built an audience.
Yeah.
And these are people that are getting hired to these quote unquote top tier agencies. And it's no wonder that paid media agencies get a bad reputation, because I think it's warranted. I'm interviewing out of these top agencies, and 9 out of 10 people I can't talk to
Yeah.
can't build an audience.
That's so interesting that you prefer that very, very tangible route for testing people. What do you think it shows that people like use the tools that much? What are you looking to see when you force them into a particular ad account?
Yeah, it's not that I think people can't learn. Like, I totally understand that anyone can learn how to do any of those things that I just said.
Yeah.
But when I ask someone that has 5 years of paid media experience
Yeah.
how to update a URL,
Yeah.
and they struggle to figure it out,
Yeah.
that makes me bring their whole experience into question. Like, why,
Mm.
like, do they care about learning? Are they reading? Are they watching? Are they listening
Yeah.
to podcasts like yours? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like whatever happened to people being like a real master at their craft? And that's what I'm looking for. I also think it shows like a lack of curiosity. Like,
Yeah.
they've been looking at that button in the ad account for 5 years. They didn't think to like click on it and figure out what it does. And so,
True.
yeah, it's not that I think they can't learn, but it just, I don't have 5 hours with them. I need to know like
Mm.
where have they gotten to date.
That's so interesting. I do agree that curiosity and joined together with ambition is probably that's that kind of combo you're looking for. I remember when I started in marketing, I used to Google everything I was sitting with. I used to like watch YouTube shows, and like back when podcast was barely a thing, I would suck up any podcast I could find to try to level up a little bit and see what's the cheat codes that are out there.
Exactly. I can't remember who said it. It might have been actually Sam Altman before he was famous. He said it shouldn't be an interview. It should be an audition. Like have them do like a half hour of the job, and make sure they can do it. You know, yeah.
That's very true. Some people can get away with bullshitting, but if you're asked to do something very deep into the platform, you just call the bluff very fast.
Exactly. There's so many people, they look the part, they speak the part, they have the resume, and then, you ask them questions. It's like it becomes very eye-opening.
Yeah. Would be fun to maybe do like a little bit of history with ads at HubSpot. And obviously you can't share all the secrets, but so we're back 12 years ago or something like that. That gives us 2014, 13, 14, 15. What was the HubSpot engine looking like back then? What was working? And then we can like jump to more recently afterwards.
Yeah. So when I started at HubSpot, actually paid media was kind of like a bad word, because I don't know if you know the HubSpot story, but they were all about like inbound and attracting people. And if you went and tried,
when they're hearing either Damesh or the other founder saying that everybody blocked at HubSpot initially or something like that.
It was about attracting people, and you weren't really supposed to go out and find people. Like they considered that interrupting.
Yeah.
But I think like, and to be fair, like 13 years ago, maybe it kind of was. Like if you think back to what ads looked like banners and toolbars and like, one weird trick to do whatever. It was kind of like not a great look for business. But I think that the landscape changed, and like ad units became more standardized, more professional, and also like candidly, we were having just a ton of success with it, and our customers were having a ton of success with ads, and we couldn't ignore it anymore. So it was kind of like, I don't know, if we can't beat them, join them to an extent, but it was like, this is a way we could really add value to our customers. They're doing it anyway. Let's help them. And then within a couple of years, the CEO was on stage launching. HubSpot had launched a tool to help with ads, and I actually think that tool does pretty well for HubSpot. I think the customers will. I really like it.
Yeah.
So the sentiment definitely changed, and now for the past, I don't know, 5-10 years, ads have been like a part of HubSpot.
Was it like Google search that would be the biggest thing initially?
Yeah, we did a lot on Google. We did a lot on Meta. We eventually got to LinkedIn in a big way. The main thing that was different is there wasn't really like a ton of AI yet. Like it was like early days. Like I don't know when Meta launched lookalikes. Like that was kind of like that
was really awesome at a point.
Yeah. Well, I remember like there was a period of time where I could manually set targeting and beat these algorithms.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when I was first at HubSpot for a couple of years, but then it became.
I think about that as the honeymoon phase of Facebook ads. You had lookalike audiences, and you had like 0 GDPR, so you could retarget people for 6 months or 12 months or something like that.
That's right. Tracking was easy. Everything was super tangible. Like buyer
competition was pretty low as well. So you had quality audiences, and you had little competition. I was back at another company. We spent a lot on Facebook. It was called back then, but I like looking back, we should probably even have spent more than what we did.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like oftentimes the best time to spend is right now. Like targeting is going to get harder. Competition's going to get fiercer. It's going to get more expensive.
That's probably one of the strongest marketing lessons I've had in my career. Is like nothing's working forever. So if it's working right now, you need to
do it right now.
Push in right now.
Yeah.
Well, how did the paid marketing then evolve? I guess so very heavy on search ads and Facebook initially. What was it like kind of in the later years? How to disclose stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I mean it's mostly what you'd expect. I don't think there's any big secrets. Maybe a few smaller networks, but we were on what you'd expect, like Meta, LinkedIn, Google, Bing, some review websites, DV360, all of the big players. And any of the smaller little tricks I'll leave off, but I don't think I'd get into trouble for saying we're on the biggest ad networks in the
No,
world.
no, that's good. And then you said something which I think it was also worth like going into. So you just for you it's normal to think like this, but you talked about tests and running enough tests, and I'd love to hear kind of what you're thinking about running tests with paid ads, and how should you do it, and why is it important, and those kind of things.
Yeah, so there's still a lot you can test. And I think this varies by ad channel, but for example, let's just pick one like Google. So you can test different copy. You can test, do you want to pin headlines and pin descriptions or not, and just kind of let the AI run with it. There's all kinds of different campaign types. So there's search, but then within Google, you can also do demand gen. You can do YouTube, which is part of demand gen sometimes. You can do performance max. Within search, you can test this thing called AI max for search. And within that, there's a lot of different things you can test. Do you want to let it do keywordless bidding? Do you want to let it write copy for you? Do you want to let it pick a different URL for you? Do you want to let it do all of those things? You can test all of these things. You can test into different regions. You can test different bid strategies, like what's better, max conversion, max value, TCPA, TROAS. You can test different conversion points. So this is kind of a hot one right now of like, everyone wants revenue and customers, but you also need to be able to send enough data back to the ad network. So oftentimes people are choosing proxy metrics, SQL, MQL, lead, even higher up on the page. Maybe you assign points for spending a certain amount of time on the page, assign points for clicking a certain button, visiting the pricing page, that kind of, and like figuring out what do you want the algorithm to optimize to, because there's always trade-offs.
Mm.
So that's to name a few, at least on Google.
And it's super good, Rex. About sort of, if we didn't drill down into the kind of the more high level, why do you test? Why
Sure,
is
yeah.
it you want your C2C teams testing stuff all the time, and what's kind of the like testing schedule you'll work with?
Yeah. So I generally say the best thing you can do for the short term is not test at all. Just like put all of your chips behind whatever is working. The best thing you can do
Oh,
for the best thing you can do for the long term is test everything. Like have nothing and say just constantly be trying to get better. Because testing is how you get better. You like have part of your traffic do this, part of your traffic do this, and you monitor the results. And the thing is, when something doesn't work, it's usually immaterial. It's like,
mm,
okay, we've lost $3,000 trying this thing, didn't work as well as the other thing, we pause it. But if it works, the upside just far outweighs the downside, because now you have this new thing that's, even if it's just a little bit better, it's better forever, and
mm,
you're more optimized. And I think that the name of the game in paid media is just like, try to get a few percent better every week. I mean,
mm,
that's how it compounds. You won't, like, when you first launch a program, probably isn't going to work. There's too many combinations of, like, you haven't found what works for you yet. In 6 months, if you've been testing, it's probably going to be working a little bit. Like, you'll have some bright spots, but if you
mm.
just keep getting a few percent better, give it 5 years and you will be cruising.
And what is the so I'd love to just get a little bit better myself, but so I guess there's two questions I have. One is, what is the time frames you work with on tests? And then secondly, what are kind of the leading metrics that you typically be looking at when you set up like a digital ad test?
Yeah, so time frame, I think you want to give it at least the minimum of a couple of weeks, just so you get, like, you have a couple of Mondays in there, a couple of weekends in there, kind of like
Yeah.
smooths it out. But I think it's more a function of, like, when do you have enough data, rather than like 4 weeks or 6 weeks. Because if you have a ton of, like, for example, let's say you're doing a landing page test,
Yeah.
if you get 100,000 visits per day, you may have a pretty good sense in like a day,
Mm,
if
yeah,
if,
yeah, absolutely.
you know. So it just becomes a function of, like, how long does it take to hit stat sig. But I think you do generally want to give it at least a few weeks regardless, unless it's a total, if it's obvious, then go with the thing that's winning.
Yeah.
soon. But if it's close, yeah, give it at least a couple weeks.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And then the metrics you'd typically be studying early on, and obviously we know B2B takes time. So I'm thinking more like, what are the kind of leading metrics that, in your opinion, people should be studying to evaluate ads?
Yeah, so every company does it a little bit different, but
Yeah,
your typical life cycle stages is something to the effect of lead, MQL, SQL, opportunity, close one. And
yeah. So
everyone, this is what I was talking a little bit about earlier. Like everyone cares about close one. Everyone knows, like, that's the North Star, but you need to try to find something that correlates to that that's high up in the funnel. And I
yeah,
think this also changes for every business. So, Meta famously had, I think it was like 7 friends in 10 days. It was like, if someone signs up for Facebook and they get 7 friends in 10 days, they're going to be around 4.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think with Uber, it was their second ride. It was like
Mm,
once someone goes on their second ride, we've got them for like that was the thing that correlated to revenue for them.
yeah,
Uh, so I think like a decent proxy is like MQLs. It's like,
yeah,
are they booking a call? Maybe are they showing up to the call? But short of that, you can go even higher into the funnel and be like, how many people visited the pricing page?
yeah,
And that may be correlated to revenue.
yeah. So it's not like down to like even more leading, like time on spent on the website or
You could check that too. Yeah,
bounce
you could.
rate, stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen people use like effectively people that did not bounce.
Yeah,
Like they spent a certain amount of time on the page, or they went into a different page on the website. Um, but yeah, I think most people probably use like MQL if they have enough data.
yeah. Something that has some kind of correlation to the business making money at that
Exactly.
point.
Exactly.
Cool. So what is this kind of, when somebody goes to Growth Summit now? What does kind of the work you guys look like? Do you have like if we change chapters to that, I'd love to hear kind of what is the framework that you then instill on the clients that come to you, because I mean that must be like a reflection of all the best practices you've learned along the years. And I'd love to hear kind of what is the treatment you get when people come to your company.
Yeah. So, it starts out with like a kickoff call where we just download as much information as possible, and then we build out a custom GPT that we can like ask questions, write copy, like as we get more and more information from the client.
Oh, really? Okay. So you build it like a GPT based on the information you have.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool.
And then as we get more feedback throughout the engagement, we tune that because, like, for example, like with things like writing copy, like I think everyone uses the first like an LLM as the first draft now. So like the client is explicitly saying like this is our angle. We make sure to like capture that, and then for that copy, we'll send the first draft with a human review. Of course, they may
Mm,
have feedback that goes back into the GPT, and then we'll never make that mistake again.
yeah.
We'll tune it over time. Yeah. But anyway,
Yes.
that's one small thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, after the kickoff call, we make a plan. Most of our clients are B2B professional services and SaaS.
Yeah.
So they usually start with Google. Like that is usually a slam dunk for people. It's like if someone is actively searching for like, marketing attribution software, you guys have that. Like I think that would be a mistake if you were not showing an ad there. I think one of your competitors would.
Mm,
So that, but then also, oftentimes defending people's brand terms. If they're a small startup, maybe not. If there's like, if
yeah.
it definitely would not be incremental. Like if there's no competition, maybe just leave it. But for bigger companies, oftentimes we're wanting to defend their brand terms. And then Google kind of gets going, and then we usually do LinkedIn as the first channel
Yeah.
on social, and we usually try to define 1 to 3 personas um, depending on like who the company is targeting, and then usually we'll pick like 3 placements, so like thought leadership ads, conversation ads, and document ads or something like that. And we'll just start trying things, right? Like different copy, different videos, different images. Goal of like to try to find something, different audiences, try to find something that sticks. And we'll usually spend a bit of time on Google and LinkedIn before moving on to the next thing, because there's like, to say you're like testing Google or testing LinkedIn, it's like there's like a million things you can try. Like you're not just like, oh, we tested it. It's like, no, there's like, you haven't tested until you've really like tried things out. And the other nice thing is we're a big fan of the staggered start. So for example, some companies, it makes sense to be on Bing, and I can go through my whole philosophy on when and where that does make sense and when it doesn't. But start on Google, get your learnings there, and then go to Bing, because otherwise you're just like paying for the same learnings twice. And I would say the same thing with like LinkedIn to your next social platform. You can learn things.
I think I have experience with Google search is that it's just getting more and more expensive over the years.
Oh yeah.
While also they're super annoying close match.
Close match.
Like, I just gave you an exact match. I don't need a close match to my exact match. Come on. What do you think about search ads now with the AI overviews and everything? Like, you still like search ads as much as you did 5 or 10 years ago?
I do. It's definitely black boxy. It's changed a lot. But I totally hear you that like you want the search terms that you want, and you go and you look at the search term report, and it's like, oh, this like, why did you pick from this ad group, or why did you pick this search term to begin with?
Yeah.
And it like looks like it doesn't make sense, and there are times where you definitely want to intervene. There are times where it just straight up doesn't make sense and Google misunderstood.
Yeah.
But the other thing to keep in mind is if you run a custom experiment, and if you take your campaign and you split it into, you do half to exact and half to broad, I bet you broad will win. Yeah, and that's new. But I hated, and it also depends on the business and like where they are and how much they're spending and do they have their tracking set up. But we're seeing broad win, not always, but more than it loses.
I've been so tight on my keywords. You're like, I want this and this and this and this.
And that's a totally reasonable place to start. And you might be fine. What I would advise to you is go set up an experiment. Just set up a custom experiment and just change the match types over to broad and run them side by side for a few weeks and see what happens. And I bet better than fit. And look, always happy to be proven wrong with data. I'm not saying this is going to win every time, but I'm saying it is something we're seeing win more and more every day. So it's worth trying.
You're shaking up my whole world now, Rex. I've been so tight on Google search ads.
Yeah, it's that's how it was for 10 years. Like everyone hated broad match, but it's starting to. I would keep an open mind on it.
Yeah, maybe worth testing again. So you would do like also. So at least to say, I've been very like low funnel focused in my Google search ads. But would you even move it to also like more like high top funnel kind of keywords nowadays? Just with broad match and just let the algorithm kind of find its way?
Do you mean like non-brand, or do you mean
like, non-branded? Like,
I think you should test it. Yeah, like if I search marketing attribution platform, is Dream Data going to show up, or you're not even bidding on that?
I'm telling you, those clicks are expensive.
They're expensive. Yeah, so I would not be surprised if you told me they're $150.
They are like can be north of $100. That's what makes us a little bit.
I've worked with a client that is gladly willing to spend $700 for a click, and you just have to like back into if it makes sense. So I don't know enough about Dream Data to know.
No, that's fine. Like, but it's just so funny to hear like that kind of contrarian to my normal understanding of how you should do Google search ads. And people are asking questions now, Rex, which allow me to pull up a few of them. So Mark here is asking, I find LinkedIn very expensive with cost per demo to being like 3 to 5x on Google or Meta. Very hard to justify moving budgets, and I always end up pausing and rolling back experiments. Is that what you're seeing as well, normally?
That's so. I don't want to knock Meta. I've had a lot of good experience. Like even in B2B, I do think it's worth trying. Like for a lot of reasons, people think that their audience isn't on Meta. Meta's got like 3 billion users. They're there.
Everybody's there. Yeah.
This is inconsistent. I'm curious how he's defining demo. If it's booking a demo, I actually agree with this. Meta is cheaper, especially lead form ads. Like those are crazy cheap. You can get those for dollars.
Yeah.
But if you look at like how people are progressing in the funnel, usually we do see LinkedIn winning there. Even if Meta wins on like that initial cost per demo booked.
It's such a good pun because we just we just released a benchmark report where kind of also LinkedIn LinkedIn clearly wins downstream, where it's like it's more expensive clicks, but it's the only actually of Meta, Google Search, and LinkedIn. It's the only one that is actually ROI positive for all our clients.
Oh wow! Okay.
I tried sharing the link to the report. I'll just do it on the fly here. But that's yeah. So yeah, LinkedIn might seem expensive, but in reality, it's probably not. And I think one thing I really like with LinkedIn is that they actually have an account concept. So what I'm struggling with a lot on Meta and Google's network is that they don't have an account concept. So I can't say I want accounts of this size and I want accounts of this industry, or in this, of course you can do country. So you can't like for marketing attribution, I can't control whether it's a student that is doing some research for some kind of report, or it's an enterprise company, which I really want as our customer. So yeah, you just don't have any control in these networks.
Yeah. There's startups that are trying to like fix some of that. They call it Primer is one that's kind of popular. You know about it?
Say it. We are actually looking at it at the moment.
And they're trying to solve what you just mentioned of like bringing B2B targeting to Meta. And Clay just launched something a few weeks back that is looking to solve that as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so but yeah, I'm so interested in it because you also have both Meta and Google being, as you say, there are enormous, like 3 billion people on probably each platform. So if you can solve for like proper B2B targeting there, that's a lot of customers you can go for.
Totally.
That was really good. What's your preferred method of targeting on LinkedIn? You use matched audience typically, or would you just sit and like filter your own?
But I test it both ways. Yeah.
I think there's a theme here, Rex.
Yeah, you can do customer match, you can do company match, and then you can just use LinkedIn's third-party data. I think they're all worth doing. When you're doing company match, you still generally would want to layer in some targeting. Like if you're going after like Amazon, you don't want everyone at Amazon. You want like these specific people at Amazon.
Absolutely not. Okay, so Ishan is asking a bunch of questions here. I'll pull one out. Let's try this one. Question: when you first see that paid is working in a new B2B account, some pipelines, some wins, what specific signals tell you it's time to treat it as an engine and scale? And what are the most common technical gaps that block that jump?
Yeah. So I think you have to kind of earn more budget at every step. So when you're just launching ads, you're optimizing for cost per lead, and you kind of have a sense for like, how much can I pay for a lead, right? So if you can pay $100,000 for a customer and 1 in 100 leads become a customer, it's like, what if you're at $1,000? If you're better than $1,000 per lead, you can kind of like back into it. It's like, okay, this is like, I'm on a good path here, and I think you've earned your next tranche of budget. Don't don't go like break the bank yet, because you don't really know how it's going to mature, but it's like, okay, this is good, this is looking good. And then, spend your next tranche of money and see what your cost per MQL is like, and then do your math and be like, okay, is this in reason? Can I afford this? If yes, you've got your next tranche of budget, and keep going until it's clear that like this doesn't actually look good, but like this actually is like a good return on ad spend. And at that point, I mean, if you're well funded, like go talk to your finance team, and like don't wait too long. Just hit the gas, because that can be a huge opportunity, and the upside can be much higher than most people think.
Yeah, I like that. And then like people in marketing needs to you need to like present it as like an investment opportunity for the company, that look, these are the metrics I'm seeing. We're making so much money whenever I run these ads. Can I please have like, let's try double budget or something like that?
Yeah, so some people I think make the mistake of treating paid media as a cost center.
Yeah.
And I get it. Maybe on a P&L it is, but like really, like if you're doing it right, it can be a revenue center. It's like the more you put in, the more you get back. So yeah, I think some finance teams just inherently understand that, and some just need like a bit of education.
Yeah, and do you need to do marketing for marketing in your company? And particularly if like you're in B2B and selling to like larger companies, you're not going to see revenue next week. It's going to take time to influence these companies to just book a demo, and that demo is going to probably be another quarter or two before it hits like late stage pipeline. So it's going to take a long time.
Yeah, that's right.
Mark has a very 2026 question here. What do you think about influences in B2B? Is that in your kind of playbooks nowadays?
It kind of lives like always next to my team, not on my team. But I do work with B2B influencers because, like, first of all, I'm a fan. I think that generally people prefer to hear from people than from companies. So, and every ad network is starting to allow this. So, like for LinkedIn ads, you've got thought leadership ads where you can like amplify someone else's posts. On Meta, you've got partnership ads. Some people call them whitelisting. TikTok, you've got Spark ads. YouTube, you've got Brand Connect. So you like they're allowing you to like connect to individual profiles, which is really cool. And I actually think that's where there's more value, because if you get, let's just do LinkedIn thought leadership ads, because I think that's probably where most of your audience is. If you get someone to post, you may get, I don't know, call it 25,000 impressions, and let's say it's a $100 CPM, so you've just got yourself, if I'm doing my math right, like $2,500 worth of value. Like, awesome, congrats, that's great. But if you can then sync that up, like get their permission to amplify it and put 1 million impressions behind it, that sounds way more valuable to me than that. So I don't mean to discredit like the initial post. Like I think that's something, and like that's going to their audience, but I think amplifying it is where the real value is, unless you're working with like Mark Cuban or like someone that's like someone that's like a huge following. That's different. But if you're working with like a normal B2B influencer, the upside is probably pretty limited without amplifying it.
Yeah. And like the fantastic thing about LinkedIn is that I really like their matched audience functionality, because you can tell LinkedIn, these are the 50,000 accounts in the whole world that fits the criteria for my ICP.
Yeah.
I just want to show this influencer in front of those people that work in accounting in this company, or whatever your product is. And then this esteemed thought leader within this very small niche gets exactly in front of the right people for you.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, it's there's value either way, but amplifying it will get you even more value.
Yeah. Rex, I'm curious about something about just kind of when you work with ads at scale, where kind of we're just a Series B company, there's like relative limit to how much money we can spend. But when you get to the stage of like the HubSpots or maybe even Cursor nowadays, how do you run paid ads well at a company of that scale as opposed to kind of a smaller company? Because small tests, I could think maybe it doesn't really matter because you don't need to lift pipeline with $100,000. You need to lift it with 100 million maybe next year or something like. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how is it to drive such a big engine as opposed to running a smaller engine?
Yeah. So there are actually a lot of similarities. I still think like big or small, there's no silver bullet. The name of the game is just like test a bunch of stuff and
Yeah.
see what works. I think a couple of differences at a big company. One is like small changes make a bigger impact. So like, if there's like a tool that costs $10,000
Mm,
and you're not spending very much money, it's like, you know, you're thinking like, well, what's the ROI on this tool? It's going to make me 10% better, whatever. Like,
yeah.
is it worth it? If you can do anything to make a really big budget 2% better, you don't even need to think. Like, you don't need to, it's just obvious. Like,
Yeah.
okay, given how much we're spending, given the ROI,
Yeah.
this tool is like the cost is immaterial. So that's one interesting thing
Mm,
that happens. Feedback loops are much faster at bigger spend. So like I was saying earlier, like when you have a small budget and you want to test something in B2B, you may have to wait 6 to 8 weeks to get data.
yeah.
If you're working with a very large budget and like a ton of volume, you can move a lot more. You can move a lot more quickly. You can test a lot more. You can learn a lot faster, which is cool. Um, and then I think measurement, as you probably know here, like gets a little trickier at bigger companies. Like with startups, I mean, you may disagree with me. You probably will disagree with me on this, but like a small company, I usually tell them don't overthink the
Yeah.
tracking, the measurement. Just get going. Like you don't need like anything fancy.
No.
Um, but once you start having a lot of organic and word of mouth and you're on 10 channels, um, then I think you have to be more thoughtful in a few areas, multi-touch attribution being one of them. Um, think like incrementality being another, because all of these things kind of interfere and you start you start getting a lot of questions around like, I don't know how many you probably know, like how many touch points are in the
Mm,
average buyer. Like it's
yeah.
probably like 40 for like some companies, something
We just released a benchmark report last week. I think it was like 80 now or something like that.
80. Oh my God. Right.
Yeah.
So I think measurement just becomes a lot more challenging. Like that doesn't happen at first,
Yeah.
like with startups. But eventually I can
No, but
that
now I completely agree with like small companies. Like the test is you actually started running ads, or
just get going.
so
Just
Google Ads work because there's more leads coming through now. So no, at that point I do completely agree with Rex.
yeah. Yeah.
Have you worked a lot with kind of when you get to that scale? Do you think about the synergy between like running multiple things at once, like turning all or turning on all the engines, or like that kind of cross pollination that takes place? Is that like something you'd think about as well?
Yeah. So I think like the way this is one of the hardest things in paid media, but yeah,
Sorry.
no, you're good. The usually, I mean, you can do the like just turn off thing. So
Mm,
like you just like turn off ads in Australia for
mm,
like a certain ad network or whatever and
yeah,
see what happens. And that is one way to do it. The other way you can do it is you can heavy up.
yeah,
You can like, take like Australia so you could go dark, or you could heavy up, or you could do something in between. You don't have to do it like just with Australia. You can also pick like 10 DMAs in the US and heavy up or go dark or something in between.
yeah,
And yeah, this is like I think one of the harder parts of paid media that smaller companies I think don't have to worry about just yet,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it does start becoming relevant later on.
I also think about it as if let's say you have like, again, what did I say before, 50,000 accounts globally,
Mhm.
and perhaps LinkedIn are only able to get you in front of 40%, or sorry, 50% or 40,000 of these. then you have to go find the rest of the 10,000 you are missing to get in front of on other platforms, whether that's Google search, or maybe in Australia they look at YouTube Australia, or whatever it's called. So that's at least how I think about our like ICP list, is that just not we sell to B2B marketers. I was about to say maybe they're not all on LinkedIn, but that might not be true. Maybe they are all on LinkedIn, but other industries might not be as LinkedIn heavy, so they might need to go other places to get in front of them.
For sure, absolutely. I mean, I love LinkedIn as much as the next guy, but I do think there's a big world out there outside of LinkedIn where you can find more people. And I do think it depends on the demo of like your ICP of where you go.
Yeah. If we change chapter a little bit, Rex, I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts about like digital marketing in 2026, and like looking ahead. What do you think? Like, what are the sort of what's the platforms that are working right now, and maybe also like what is the work methodology that is to kind of make marketing teams efficient in these years to come?
Yeah. So I think the platforms that are working are a lot of the same. I think measurement's getting trickier, but I think the places that I'm still seeing a lot of people are on the big ones. So Google, LinkedIn, Meta, some
Yeah.
Reddit, some YouTube, some Twitter.
Yeah.
It's some of them won't look like they're working, even though they probably are. So like I mean, without like a dream data type tool,
Yeah.
oftentimes it looks like LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn still might look like it's working, but it's probably doing even better than you think. Uh,
Mm.
I think YouTube is in that category too. Like people always launch YouTube and it looks like it's not working, but if you keep digging and you like look at view through conversions or you run a holdout study, I think it is usually better than people think.
Yeah.
Uh, in terms of where it's all going,
Yes.
so
Where's it going, Rex? Tell me.
I think I think the trend is pretty clear to me of just like more of the controls that used to be in the hands of advertisers are going over to the machines,
Mm.
and the advertisers are more in charge of like strategy and thinking how it all fits together than like, it used to be there were 20 people in a room like tweaking CPC bids and
Mm.
like tweaking audiences. And now it's like, I don't know. I feel like those days are largely gone on a lot of platforms. Actually, interestingly, LinkedIn manual bidding and tweaking audiences is still very popular and for
Yeah.
good reason. Um, but like on Meta, I mean, best practice on Meta is effectively to like have no audience now and just like let the algorithm
What?
rip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you basically just yeah. Then I've heard it laid out as you kind of make you create the content that will kind of like help the audience filter themselves, and then the algorithm will find their way at some point.
Yeah, again, depends on the platform, but on Meta specifically, like I do think two of the biggest levers are the creative and the conversion tracking. You still can and probably should test audiences. There's still partnership ads, which are interesting, and there's other. Oh, you can still do lead form ads. So
Yeah.
there are still bells and yeah. As I'm thinking, you can test driving traffic to Messenger, to WhatsApp. You can test different flows. So it's not fully automated yet, but there's a lot that you used to have to do manually that now you just lean into AI on.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get. Sorry, the way I'm thinking about it is like if we were to run like no audiences on Meta, there'd be two things that are important. One is that it should say like B2B marketing within the first second or two, so people will swipe away from it if it's not interesting. And then secondly, you would want that offline conversions feeding back into Facebook once relevant conversions come through. So the algorithm gets like two learning loops that it can optimize your reach or like the audience for you.
For sure. And most people actually don't even know you can do that offline conversion tracking on Meta, but actually it's super easy, especially if you're on a CRM like on HubSpot. Just
Yeah,
like hop into the ads tool, hit that orange create button,
yeah,
go to events, select Facebook, sync over lifecycle stage change on SQL, and you're give it like 72 hours and it'll be in there.
yeah. We do the same at Dream
Yeah.
that, and it's like maybe that's like a general if you're not pushing back offline conversions in B2B, you're not really giving yourself the best chances to win with paid advertisement.
I think at your stage, that's definitely true. I think early on, you still probably should do it, but you might not have enough data yet to
Mm,
optimize the like
true.
SQL or opportunity.
Yeah. No, absolutely. What about like AI changing your your marketing workflow? What is kind of the things that are like have changed for you this year and you think will change going ahead?
Yeah, so much of it is built into the platforms now.
Mm,
Where like, yeah, like the how you set your bids, how you set your audiences, how you optimize, so much of that is built into the platform. So it's really just like keeping an eye on it. But yeah, we do the custom GPT thing to help with creative. There's some interesting scripts that I have that help with like managing the search term report and keeping an eye on the account structure as a whole. There's also a lot of like new tools that will like constantly be in ad accounts, like looking for ideas and issues, which we started using at the agency. Because it's actually kind of hard to like as an agency owner to make sure like every single thing is good and consistent for every client. But like thank God for AI. And we have tools out there where if something looks off, we'll
yeah.
like get an alert and someone on the team will like if it's off, they'll hit fix and it just fixes it.
Is that like your own custom agents you built to go do it?
Combination for that one I just mentioned. We have a third party tool that we
Yeah,
use, but we have some custom scripts as well.
yeah. Because imagine particularly for the like low complexity stuff, I think agents will probably explode. Like, read the
For sure.
search term report. Does it fit the positioning we've agreed? If it doesn't fit, tell me if we're bidding for stuff that doesn't make
Right.
sense or stuff like that.
Flag it and have a button, click here to remove that, and that's exactly how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about like tooling for your kind of how you work outside the ad platforms? Are there any kind of AI tools you use to speed up your work?
Well, I've just started using Cursor.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I built a haven't built anything that's working great yet, but I'm chipping away at it. And it's just nothing fancy. It's more for my own learning.
Yeah,
Um, and outside of that, most of we kind of like signed on to this platform. I'm happy to just say it's called AdPulse. Shout out to them, and they have a lot of this stuff already built out and with like a team of engineers. So we've been leaning on that more than building our own stuff in house.
yeah. Can you say the name again? Sorry.
AdPulse.
Ad Pulse. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, to finish off, Rex, now you're like hired to build paid marketing at at Cursor, and of course you can't disclose everything. But what is kind of the like, core principles that you're trying to bring in for the Cursor team to work by?
Yeah, I think core principles is lean into like all of the AI features with some checks, test aggressively,
Mm,
like you know, lots of channels, lots of messaging, lots of creative, lots of conversion points, everything that we talked about. Um, yeah, I think within that, reporting is another one that I feel is important to get right, so that it's not just it's working, but like you can see it and prove it. I think that's good reporting helps you get more budget. Um, what else? Um, and then
For
yeah,
for
go ahead.
testing, how many? If you think about one employee, how many tests can one employee oversee at any given time?
Uh I don't know. I think it depends on the test, but a
Yeah.
lot.
Okay.
Like yeah, like yeah. I
Not
don't
like
know.
you can't just sit with one a week or something like
Oh,
that.
no, 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 and I think this is, like, my final note here is to try
Yeah,
to move, like, very, very quickly. Cursor's in an exciting
yeah,
and very fast-paced market.
yeah.
I wanna make sure we move super, super fast.
I guess it's a bit of a land grab mode where you need to get into the account as soon as you can.
Right. Right.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rex, for sharing all these very insightful stuff with us. If you want to send people on a path to get to know you better, or like even follow or speak with you, where should people go?
Yeah, you can check me out on LinkedIn. Feel free to message me. If you want to work with an agency, I know a great one. Happy to point you towards them. And if you want to sign up for Cursor, that's the new big project right now. So would love it if you create an account and go check it out.
Fantastic. And if you've been listening to Rex and I and strongly agree or strongly disagree with what we've been saying, make sure to find the episode on YouTube or LinkedIn and type in your question, and we'll monitor your comments as they come in. But thank you so much for your time, Rex. I really appreciate you sharing all